All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the Sports Card Therapist, where I give you a behind the scenes look at my hobby hustle and sprinkling some self care and wellness on top of that. I'm Rob Gerard, your Sports Card Therapist. And whether if you're listening to me on iTunes, Spotify, or watching me on YouTube, welcome to the pod. And I have a great guest that I'm excited about today. I have the man, an avid sports collector, founder of Probstein Auctions. I have Rick Probstein with me today. Rick, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you? I only have one title, by the way. I don't like, and you can give me the psychology behind it, when people have two titles. I think that's ridiculous. They're like, I'm the CEO and founder. It's like, why do you need two titles? Right? It's ridiculous, right?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, people work hard for those titles, though, Rick.
No, so if you're the founder, then okay, you're the founder. Or the like, I have two. I'm the CEO and the founder, and the founder. It's ridiculous. So anyway, I
Listen,
just I just have one title, and I started. I took out the trash. I did everything. I scanned the cards. I shipped them. There isn't anything I've done now. I mean, now we have 35 people, so I don't have to necessarily do those things anymore. But I've paid my dues. I've done all those things.
wow. Well, that's amazing, man. And I tell you, I'm excited to have you on. So thank you for sharing some time with
I
us.
appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and I know you're in a bit of a time crunch today, right? You said you only had a certain amount of time, and you had someone coming by to pick something up. Do you want to elaborate on that at all?
Yes, it was. I mean, it was on ESPN. It was a $2.3 million sale. He sent me the first wire, $1 million as a down payment 2 weeks ago, and he just sent me the wire for 1.3 million for this baby. So he's
Ooh.
coming to pick it up, and
And
I'm
for
really
the
happy about it because it's a very big problem, and when we have to ship these things. So imagine having to ship a $2.3 million card. You know how we do it?
I would imagine an armored truck and armed security guards.
That's how Heritage does it. Some dude with a gun shows up and puts it in a bag, and he's like totally serious. You could try to like joke with him and tickle him, and he just freaking gives you attitude and puts it in an armored truck. We actually buy a plane ticket, stick somebody in a plane, and we deliver it. We meet the guy in the airport, we hand it to him, and then we turn around.
Wow,
Yeah.
that sounds like a pretty cool job to have.
But this
Like,
guy's local, so we just, we're fortunate that we're just going to hand him off the card.
wow, yeah,
Yeah.
and I know that you are an avid sports card collector. And tell me, what was that transition like from going from just collecting cards to turning it into a full time career?
So for me, I've always been a dealer collector, meaning like, I'm always flipping things for money and profit, and I did that at a young age. I started doing card shows when I was 11, 12 years old. When I was 12, I made $35,000 as a kid doing card shows, which was a lot of money back then. You
It's a
know,
lot of money now.
yeah, it is. So I was very fortunate, and I always had a collection. I have a collection now, but I always bought and sold, and that fueled my ability to collect. And then I would change my mind. I would sell. I would take profit. My collection was sort of always evolving and a work in progress. But um, deep down, I'm a collector at heart. I love card shows. I love collecting all sorts of different things, whether it's memorabilia, vintage cards, modern cards, game use. I dabble in almost all of it. There isn't almost anything in our industry that I don't have, a nice chunk of. And, I've been doing it my whole life and I love it.
Wow. And going through what it is, it sounds like you went through a lot younger than it is that I went through. And I know a lot of people go through in this hobby is like, so we have our own inventory, right? Say we have 100 grand worth of cards, right? That we're kind of always, it's always kind of ever flowing, and it's, you're making moves here and there, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. When you decide to pull something, a big card out of that inventory for maybe a long-term hold, that has a tremendous impact on really your whole portfolio, because it's almost like it's almost like an out of sight, out of mind card. So if you have a $30,000 card that's part of your $100,000 collection, you might as well say, well, I only have 70 grand available now because that $30,000 card's out.
So my father, he's involved in the industry, and I got him involved. He used to drive me to the shows, and then he got involved in the industry. And some people know my dad, but he taught me a very wise thing at a young age, and I believe it to be true. Let's say you have a card and it's worth $10,000, right? Somebody's willing to pay $10,000 for you for the card. It doesn't matter what you paid for the card. It doesn't matter whether you paid $1,000 and there's potentially $9,000 profit, or you paid $20,000 and you're about to lose $10,000. The only thing that matters, you have to take every variable out completely. The only thing that exists is $10,000 on that table and that item on the table. And if somebody put a water gun to your head and said, pick one of the two items, and you got to walk out of this room with one of the two items only, the 10,000 or the item, you have to make a decision. It doesn't matter whether you paid 1,000 or 20,000. The only thing that matters is the opportunity cost in terms of what you think you could do with the 10,000. Now, if I was going to invest 10,000 and this is something that I would buy now at 10,000, then I keep the item, right? And I push back the 10,000. But if I think I can do more with the 10,000, even though I paid 1,000, even though I paid 10,000, 20,000, doesn't matter. You sell the item.
Wow. Yeah, and
that's
that makes total.
That's how I look at things on a transactional basis. What would I rather have, the item or the money? And I'll take this ball for example. This is a Giannis signed Swarovski crystal basketball.
Wow.
It's a cool item.
Yeah.
But if somebody said, okay, I'm going to give you $12,000 for it, I then have to make a big boy decision. Would I rather have the $12,000 or my Swarovski crystal basketball? And the answer is probably I'd rather have the $12,000 because I could turn $12,000 into $20,000 faster than this basketball is going to go up to $20,000. For this basketball to go to $20,000, Giannis has to win an MVP. They got to win another championship. He's got to stop signing. A lot of variables have to happen. So that's just how I look at things.
Great point. And I think a lot of it comes down to how confident are you in being able to make the right decisions and make the right plays.
Yeah. Listen, about anybody who invests in stocks, they're constantly talking to people. They're constantly doing research, right? They're not just like, just rolling the dice and whatever, and if you do your research and you talk to people and you have a little wisdom and you have a little blessing, blessings are important too, then you can be successful. So I'm constantly talking to everybody about who they like, who they're investing in, why, and constantly analyzing it. I'm constantly changing, somebody recently asked me the question, who do I like better, Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert long term, right? And
great question.
No, it's a legitimate question right now.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you have $10,000 and you want to buy a quarterback, right? Patrick Mahomes is too expensive, and you don't really like Lamar Jackson. You think he's going to get hurt or whatever, and you want to make an investment. So, I actually like Justin Herbert better than Joe Burrow, and I'm basing it off of two things: who has a better chance of making a Super Bowl again, or who has a better chance of being a top 3 MVP candidate. And there's technical reasons why within their play that I could give in terms of why I like Herbert better than Joe Burrow. But right now, the answer for most people would be Joe Burrow over Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and I think though if you ask people at the beginning of the season, hands down, I think people would have said Herbert. He was coming off Rookie of the Year.
I would say 95-5 or 90-10.
Yeah, and who knows if this Bengals team will actually even get back to a Super Bowl?
Yeah, it's not so easy. Ask Dan Marino.
Oh man,
the dude thought he was going to be there every year.
Yeah,
and people would have bet it. If you would have in 1984, if you would have allowed people to bet, $10,000 even money if Dan Marino would make it back, every single person would have bet it, and he never made it back.
Yeah,
not so easy to make it back.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you: when it comes to your personal collection,
yeah,
are you a guy? Is it more goats or is it more prospecting?
So I believe in the investment principle of diversification. So in terms of my like personal portfolio, and this is actually a Jewish Talmudic concept, you're supposed to have a third of your wealth that's just readily available, really not being invested in case you need money, a third in real estate, and a third in investments. Um, so I try to keep to that as much as possible. So I am involved in real estate, and I also have money just sitting there, in case you need money for whatever. And then within cards or investments itself, I also try and go a third, a third, a third, meaning a third in stuff that just, is classic and conservative, and you're just going to have slow, steady growth. I'm talking about Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, that kind of stuff. Then a third in like middle of the road stuff, Michael Jordan, that kind of stuff. And then a third in like, I'm hitting refresh every night, checking their stats because, their prices can go up or down 10% depending upon how they play that day, So I try and mix between those three. And I think diversification is the key to having a successful portfolio in anything.
How closely are you monitoring day-to-day sports? I know you're a busy guy.
Oh, I mean, listen. First of all, I don't sleep a lot. I get up every day like 3:30, 4 o'clock. My day starts. I don't watch the games themselves,
Yeah.
um, but I could give you a very good technical analysis on almost any player in terms of comparing them. And that's the world we live in right now. Believe it or not, with technology, you can just drop in and really get a good sense of people. Now there are some guys who I have invested heavier in, and I've sat there and I've studied them and I've watched them play. But it's not just how you watch them play; it's also there's people that have the same stat line or the same skill set, and supply and demand are different. Ultimately, supply and demand is more important than the perception. It's the same thing with companies on Wall Street. Some companies trade at 5x of earnings, some companies trade at 20x of earnings. So perception and the reality, the psychology, again, to get into your word in the marketplace, is a very key thing. So I'll give you an example. When Zion first made the transition from Duke to pro
Yeah.
basketball, I was studying how the media was, running with him. So they like everything's a thread, right? So Zion busting his shoe, right? For most people, that either is a non-story or it's a story that runs one time. But for Zion, I was blown away how the media ran it for a week. And they came up with this angle and interviewing this person and that person. And I was really like, okay, the media is taken by this guy. And then there's some people who the media are taken by and they perceive them positively. And then there's other people, there's just a complete disconnect. And, there's different reasons why there's a disconnect. Some people are more personable. Some people are less articulate. Some people, um, they just know how to interact with people, and other people, they're, one person's a flaming introvert, one person's a flaming extrovert. So,
Yeah, and
all these things come into play.
the two examples I think of right off the bat as you're talking about just maybe not having that personality and it truly transferring over to card prices is probably Tim Duncan and Kawhi Leonard.
Correct. Those are two great examples of the collector world having a disconnect. They love Vince Carter, right?
Yeah, I
They
agree.
love Vince Carter.
Yep.
There are more Vince Carter fans than there are Tim Duncan fans.
Allen Iverson. I mean,
People
both great players, but
people love Allen Iverson. Are you saying there's a disconnect with Allen
no,
Iverson?
no, no. I'm saying people love them. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Vince
yeah, yeah.
Carter, Allen Iverson. They're
Correct,
just
correct.
their personalities are bigger than life at times. And their
Yeah.
play on the court. Whereas Kawhi and Duncan, they just quietly stack up these MVPs.
And look at John Morant right now. Like, so part of the reason why he's um, taking off the way he is he's really articulate. You know, he's an intelligent guy, and when he takes the mic, you know, people are like, you know, this is a brand, right? This is a brand that people can invest in, and when people are investing in a guy, they're investing in a brand, you know, and where they're investing in Luca, you know, the interesting thing is, you know, LeBron politically is really on one side, and I bet you if you do an analysis of the people who have paid $100,000 or more for a LeBron item, I bet you that politically they're on the other side of the spectrum as LeBron. So you have a little bit of a conflict going on there, and that the people who are ponying up for his cards are not necessarily in agreement with him politically in terms of some of the things that he's come out with that have been a little bit controversial, you know. So it's interesting to see how that's going to hold up long term.
And obviously, the great points that you're making, Rick. I know that the Lakers have not looked great really since their championship in the bubble that they won. But
Yeah.
do you think that the politics that you're discussing have something to do with these LeBron prices just being down? It feels like they've been down for a while.
Um, I think it is a variable that has an effect. You know, I think the biggest problem with the Lakers, and I've actually watched full Laker games, is their rotation defense and their help defense. You know, basically everybody's one on one with people in the NBA, right? Everybody's spread out, and then it's, you know, in terms of defense, it's who can cheat the best in terms of helping people out and rotating to the ball. You know, are you giving people open threes, or are they contested? You know, are they contesting shots? And I've watched many games of them this year, more so than other teams, and I've never seen so many uncontested shots. They have poor rotation defense. They don't help each other very well, and then they're, as a result of that, they're not able to transition their offense and get some fast break points. Which ultimately, if you watch when LeBron was incredibly successful with the Miami Heat and Cleveland, they did that very effectively, and you don't see that happening with the Lakers. You don't see that, you know, that transition defense, and it's just it's not working. You know, that everybody knew that the Russell Westbrook thing was going to be difficult because the guy needs the ball. He's a nice player, but he's not that player. They need a guy who's going to basically stand out there and knock it down when you give him the ball, and that's not who he is. So there's a conflict there.
Mm. Yeah, well said. And and so bringing it back to cards a little bit, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on people just being able to look up comps at the drop of a dime, and really it's almost making it impossible for someone to purchase a card and then be able to make any kind of money off it? Because if they purchase a card and it's maybe a rare card and they're the last comp on there, you know, it can make it really difficult to
Well,
even move a card.
I think the data is crucial for people. You know, you're never going to make an investment decision in any other vertical without having the proper data, the stock market, you know, go on and on. And I think our industry has taken tremendous strides there. You know, like in theory, you know, I should be able to have my entire portfolio in Excel, and I basically just click a button every day, and it could tell me any of the items that's up on any site, you know, all the recent sales, you know, what's the market, cumulative market cap of my portfolio, and we're basically there. You know, people have that ability, and I've seen different people having it on different levels. But I think that's really important for the people that are investors and collectors. They want to know what they have, and the more information, the better. You know.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. I think that the more educated and the more tools that the buyer has at their finger tips, it just allows everyone to make a more informed decision. Just to kind of piggyback off what you're saying,
Yeah.
you know, and because, you know, you think about way back when, right, when it was just Beckett Magazine Price Guide, um, you know, those prices just rarely were either updated or rarely reflected what someone actually
I
had.
mean,
So
before Beckett, there was a magazine I go way back called CPU, Card Price Update. You know, and there was a guy who was running the magazine, and I believe he went to jail. He was basically I'll give an example of one of the examples that he got caught for. Ricky Henderson rookies were $2.50, and he's the owner of the price guide, and he was holding back the prices of going up, and he was buying up all the inventory. And then once he had a lot of inventory, all of a sudden Ricky Henderson jumps to $8 within 2 months, and this person profited off of it. So that was back then.
Wow.
That was some of the stuff that was going on, and that happened. That's before Beckett, and I believe he went to jail for it. I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
So there's some shady stuff, but the data and the information, I think, is crucial for people. I think most people want that information. They want the data, and the more the better.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
make informed decisions.
Yeah. And so what are your thoughts on just the current process that a collector goes through for purchasing cards? And the reason why I ask this is because when it was announced and Fanatics discussed wanting to radically change the process for the collector
Yeah.
and basically insinuating that the hobby was almost broken and that they wanted to come and fix it. What's your
I don't think that's the case. I mean, I don't think the hobby is broken by any regard, in any regard. I think the hobby is very strong. But I think that, I think there will be a lot of changes that come. I would love to just, open up packs and the better cards are already graded, rather than having to deal with a raw card. Oh, I just pulled a PSA 10. Oh, I just pulled a BGS 9.5. And I think that day will come where the best of the best cards will already be graded when you're getting them in packs. I think it's just a matter of time before that happens. The guy who pulls the Zion logo man, now he's got to go get it graded. Why can't that happen beforehand?
Yeah. And why can't that be a 10? Because so much can happen between opening the box and shipping
It
or
doesn't mean that they're all going to be 10s, because in the manufacturing process, especially in the thicker cards, it's I like the fact that a logo man, or a thicker card is an 8.5 or a 9. You forget that these are still lofty grades. 9 means mint. Mint means mint.
Yeah.
So gem mint means like, oh my God, it's beyond perfect. So I think that time will come. But I have a lot of confidence in Fanatics. I think Josh Luber is probably one of the brightest minds that we have in our industry, and he's the type of guy that if he doesn't have the answer, he's going to figure out the answer, and they're going to be able to come up with the perfect solution, which is making everybody happy. They're going to make profit, which will be good for them, and they're going to make the collectors happy. And I think it's going to be for the better. And I think whatever ideas that they come up with will be new and improved and better.
Yeah. And hopefully, absolutely, that is the case. I would imagine they are bringing on the brightest and the best minds and most creative minds that money could pay for, because they've paid a lot of money just to be able to get all the licensing and the opportunity to be in their position.
Yeah. They're going to, I have full confidence. I'm excited about it. I was excited when I heard the news. I was excited. Everything I've heard so far has been all for the good for the industry.
Beautiful, beautiful. So earlier this week, Rick, I asked my followers on Instagram if they had any questions for you. And overwhelmingly, the number one thing that they wanted to know was about shilling or shill bidding. And I'm sure this is not new to you. And I think the main question is, what are you doing to try and prevent shill bidding from your auctions? Because that's a big responsibility.
Yeah. So ultimately, the responsibility does fall on eBay in the regards that they control the technology. I do not control the technology. I do not have access to eBay IP addresses, which is, for those who don't know what an IP address is, it's basically how somebody's accessing the internet. So you can have 6 different accounts and you can access the same IP address. So if somebody's manipulating a bid and they have 2 accounts on a computer and they're using the same IP address, this is something that they can catch technically. And that is the number one way that they deal with people who are involved in shill bidding. So we can only do so much in regards to, because I'm not eBay. I don't control the technology. I can tell you 10,000% that we do not bid on our own items. Nobody in our office that's on my payroll bids on their own items. If somebody filmed me for a day, starting at 3:15 in the morning till 10:10 at night, they'd be like, wow, that guy's got a full load. And I'm barely even looking at the auctions, let alone, manipulating 800,000 auctions a year. I think people who are involved in the industry know that I'm not involved directly. And we're not partnering with anybody who's doing anything directly. Now, are there things that are going on the platform? Yes. eBay is aware of these things. So they've taken 3 big steps, and there's more steps coming. The first step is they stop bid retractions, right? So bid retractions are bad. If you're on PWCC site or Heritage or Golden, you cannot retract your bid, right? So eBay did away with bid retractions. The only way you can retract a bid is they ask me nicely, and they make up some reason like, oh, my baby bid on the item by mistake. Can you retract my bid? I'm like, oh, that happens to me all the time. I know what you're going through. Oh, yes, I can do that for you. You lying XYZ.
Yep.
And then the second thing is they stop the returns, right? So you can still return an item, but they can only do it if the person says that the item is significantly not as described. And then there has to be some level of proof with it, right? So, if an item is a PSA 10 and the guy got hurt, I do have the ability to decline a return, which was some of the nonsense that was going on previously. The other thing that they've done is that I had a meeting with them about, a lot of the unpaid items that were going on, right? The worst of it was Trey Young. So, and it's still going on with the Trey Young market.
I had seen a couple examples, I think, of Trey Young cards going like all comps on a certain card were like
the whole Trey Young vertical is being played. All the data that you have is just, it's messed up. And most of the bidders, believe it or not, were overseas that were involved with it and doing it. And it's still going on to some level. So the other thing that I took a hard line with eBay, and we've come up with one level that we're trying to fix the problem, is that anybody with 2 unpaid strikes anywhere on the platform of eBay is not able to bid on my auctions, right? And I've probably had 500 people, if not more, ask me, can you exempt me? Can you exempt me? Can you exempt me? And I promised eBay that I would not make any exceptions for anybody, whether they've spent $1 million with me. And I've had people who are like, oh, this guy gave me 2 unpaid strikes and and I've spent $400,000 with you, and I've told the people that I'm not exempting their account. I promised eBay, and we're not doing it, and they're doing this to clean up the platform. The next step, which could happen, may happen, and it's just an idea that's been floated out there, is that you're going to have to put a credit card in to bid, and if you don't pay, they're going to charge your credit card 10% of the final price. And that'll get rid of the nonsense to another level. But we're not involved in it. We don't partner with it on any regard. We will take action if it's pointed out to us. In every instance where something has ever happened, people point it out to us, and we do take action. We forward it on to eBay. We block accounts. We care greatly about the purity of the bidding process.
And I appreciate everything you're saying. I think that people that are well educated in the hobby, I can't imagine that most people think that you guys specifically have anything to do with it. I think the issue is,
by the way, I can't see the bids, which is different than, and I spoke to this with Bill about Bill Mastro when I talked to him one time. The problem with Mastro is that they could see the bids. So a guy bids $400,000 on an item that's at $80,000. The temptation was too great for them, but I don't have access to seeing what the bids are. They did, and obviously they failed that test, and they paid the price greatly. He lost his company and he went to jail. So but we don't have access to that information. But you wanted to clarify in terms of what the people wanted to know specifically?
Well, no, and I think it's are you just leaving it up to eBay and saying, well, it's an eBay platform, it's up to eBay to handle, or is there anything extra? Because really, you guys are the biggest platform, the biggest auction house in sports cards, right? I mean, it's really what
So
you and Greg Moore's
here's
cards,
the
right?
thing. We will block bidders that we feel are doing any form of manipulation of the marketplace on any level. Okay. And if I detect a consigner, right, I have 4,000 consigners. All my top accounts are totally pure. We're not having any manipulation going on with my top accounts. I know who their accounts are. I know what they bid on, where they're going. And if I do see somebody win their own item, right? We do force them. They'll sometimes a person has come in and said, "Oh, will you cancel this item? I bid on this item by mistake." And I'm like, "No, you didn't bid on this item by mistake. I'm not canceling it for you. I'm not letting you off the hook. You're gonna have to pay for the item. We're gonna ship it to you, and you're gonna lose the money on the eBay fees, and you're gonna have to pay me my commission. And hopefully that'll teach you a lesson, and you're not going to do it again." And we'll do that one time with them, and then if we see them do it again, we will not work with them again. you know
Yeah,
so we've done that, and that's cleaned things up.
yeah,
So you know the bigger problem in the industry, and this is where the perception is shill bidding, is that you'll have, and we'll go back to Trey Young, for example. So let's say you have a nice kid, he's 14 years old and he's living overseas somewhere, and he's got 3 Trey Young cards, right? And 80% of his portfolio is in Trey Young. Okay. And he doesn't want to see the prices decline. And he will open up an account or have his friend bid an account, and they will open it up and they will make sure that it's not going to sell below a certain point. And if it does go below a certain point, they're going to win the auction, and they're going to not pay. And it doesn't matter whether he's got 1,000 feedback or 2,000 feedback or 2 feedback. Um, and that is where the problem is.
yeah,
And eBay is taking significant action on these accounts. It's happening. It's much better than it was previously. There are some large sellers who they kicked off the platform that were involved on some level of partnering with people with shill bidding. And the people that they have left, they feel are people who they can partner with and people they can work with and get through this thing.
yeah. And I appreciate you taking the time to really talk about some of this stuff. I'm sure you've
Yeah,
talked
no,
about it to death, and
I have not. I'm an open. I have nothing to hide. So there's,
yeah,
if I had somebody in my office sitting there on a computer on a different IP address on different accounts with 45 different accounts, driving up the prices of 800,000 auctions, that would be one thing. But I have nothing to hide. So we're not involved in any direct level of any of these things. And when indirectly we find out or we're discovered or we're pointed out about it, I take whatever action I can. And I'm working with eBay actively in terms of making improvements. And we've made 3 major improvements, and there's more improvements that are coming that I can't discuss. But it will get better. And you have to remember, there's a very big difference between eBay, Heritage, Golden, and PWCC. eBay is 10 times bigger than the 3 of those guys combined in terms of the amount of people on the platform. And you're dealing with a tremendous amount of people internationally in comparison to those other marketplaces. PWCC, and I've said many positive things about them. I think that their auction site is the best out there currently. I think that will change, though, in terms of when eBay sort of launches with their new initiatives. I think their auction site is the best. I think they're intelligent people. They have great cards. They do a great job. But recently, they started doing a monthly auction, and then it went into a weekly auction. And the results of the Pokemon were very poor. And why were they poor? It's because they have not been able to carry over the international bidders onto their platform. The international bidders are on eBay, and the international bidders are the ones who are driving the Pokemon market. I've picked up, I'm not joking, probably 100 new Pokemon consigners in the last 6 months since PWCC left the platform. And, PWCC is not struggling at all. They're basically just dealing with, $10,000 cards and up now. and that's where their business and their focal point is. And they're not concerned about the $400 Pokemon card, or the fact that that guy is now consigning with me instead of them. That's not the focal point of their company. They're doing fine. But it is evidence the fact the eBay platform is massive compared to the other platforms. And eBay, if you did a statistical data analysis on the cards that are $10,000 and under in comparison to the other three major platforms, eBay is outperforming them.
Yeah, yeah, well said. And I think I don't know if there's an easy answer for when a card is posted and you see that the winning bidder has zero feedback. That was obviously an account that was likely just created just to shill that specific card. So it's like you can point at the
well, we have zero
person that
feedback.
sent.
We have zero feedback people paying all day long, because one is we're blocking the accounts. We told them they can never not bid on my account. They have to open up a new account so it can be monitored.
Mhm.
If I exempt an account, I have no control over that account at all.
Yeah.
If I force them to open up a new account, then that account has to be monitored, because if that account does anything, meaning like starts bidding on things and not paying, they're going to also get blocked, right? And eBay will see that there's multiple blocks on an IP address, and then from different accounts, and then they're in danger of just getting kicked off the platform completely, because that's a bad apple, But we have, I send the invoices on all the cards that are $1,000 up every day. That's how I, keep in touch of what's going on. And, there's zero feedback, one account, two account people winning nightly big cards.
Yeah.
And there's people who don't want people to know that they're bidding on a card, because you can sort of read the ID a little bit,
Yep.
right? Which is a bad thing. They have to get rid of that.
Yeah.
And people will open up a new account because they don't want anybody to know that they're winning this card, and then they'll take it and then they'll sell it under their ID. They're not, so they have multiple IDs. It's part of the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And so one other question I got about from my followers, I mean, I got over 100 responses.
Okay, cool.
But one other one
by the way, we could do this again another time if you want to. I have no problems, having office hours where I can answer people's questions, because I think they're important. And anybody who knows me or has a relationship with me or has spent any time with me, I'm a family guy. I'm married. I have 5 kids. I'm a religious guy. I'm not involved in anything inappropriate going on any level. And, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. What percentage of cards do you think that you don't scan the back of? Because it seems like a lot of the cards that you post, you only have a scan of the front.
So in general, any card for us that we think is a few $100s and up, we'll get a front back scan. Okay, in most cases. But there are some cards that we may not, just because we don't know the actual price range. But in general, anything that's expensive, we will scan. Then also anything that's decent, that has a serial number on the back, we will do a scan of, because they need to see the serial number or the auto grade. Now, there are a gazillion cards that we're posting where people are asking to see the back scan, and it's not economical for us. It's a $45 card, and we don't do it. Now, before PWCC left eBay, they had come up with a policy where they weren't even selling raw cards. It was such a nuisance for them on so many levels. They made a decision, and I don't think they're selling raw cards on their new platform either. They won't even sell a raw card, right? And now they have the new policy with anything 500 up has to go to an authenticator, before the card gets delivered to the person. Mm. So I'm aware of. Hold on one second. Come in. Okay. All right. Say goodbye to the Tom Brady. He's here for pickup.
Ooh, that's a beautiful card. Goodbye, Tom Brady.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Just tell me where we were again. Oh, with back scans. Yep. So I'm aware of all the requests. Okay. On a daily basis, I probably get 30 or 40 emails asking for back scans on cards we don't have back scans on. We are trying to do more than we did previously.
It's
But
economics. That's what it
but
comes down to.
I'm running a factory, and we're selling 800,000 items a year, and a lot of the items that we're selling are cards that don't warrant a back scan in order to make an investment decision on the card. Now, you could say, as a collector or an investor or bidder, I want to see it on everything. Okay, you have that. You have that right. You can make that decision, but it's not affecting our bids and our sales. So people are still paying very strong prices. And if somebody wins a raw card and they're not happy with the condition of it, and you can have a million people speak up for it, I do not deny returns. Okay, we take it back. We take it back with a smile on our face, and it's not a problem. So the majority of our big cards, and also in terms of memorabilia and pictures, like when we picture, I actually have one sitting near me. Here's a bobblehead, right? So bobblehead collectors, they want to see the front, the top, they want to see underneath, they want to see the neck, right? Well, I got to do it this way. They want to see into the neck. Like, we know these things. You'll see all of our bobbleheads going up tonight. There's 7 pictures on all of them. We're not just going quick bobblehead, put it up. We're putting up 7 pictures of the bobblehead because they warrant them. They need that for the sale. And on when we do jerseys, you'll see 3 or 4 pictures. We do a close up of the hologram, close up of the autograph, front of the jersey, back of the jersey. So we are working. We're not lazy, but I've always made a business decision that on a $23 card, it's going to be a $23 card whether I do front, back. And, we're now doing more than we did previously. But I'm not at the point where I'm ready to do front backs on everything. Because, also we don't want those $12 raw cards that come to us. A guy gives me, $1,000 card, and it's got $50 cards and $100 cards. And then he also has $12 cards too that make it into the stack, and we just don't do front backs in those cards.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I will say, kudos to you in the process and the shipping, because I was just having a conversation with a friend last week, and we both from Connecticut, we said we get our cards from Probstein usually within about 24 to 36 hours. It is unheard of the speed that you guys ship. Unbelievable.
Yeah, we're a factory, right? We run it like a factory, and I did a video once of us tearing bubble wrap. Did you ever see that one?
No, I didn't.
And I did a video of us loading the truck at the end of the day. I will do a couple more videos because people like to see inside the office, some of the stuff that goes on and how we do it. But it's very efficient. Like we have everybody who's running around and shipping and protecting the items the best we can. And, we also have mistakes. We have humans that are doing this, not robots. We've had people ship the wrong card, the wrong item, even though that they all have a number system on them. So we have drama. There could be a 40 item order and the person ships one of the wrong items, but we will address it and make good on it. And as a worst case scenario, in some cases, we have to refund people. But every business has this, by the way.
Definitely.
When you're running a big business, the bigger the business, the worse the customer service. That's the usual way it gets. And I do the best that we can in terms of customer service because I just know it's important. It's important to me. When I set up at a show at the National and I'm going to be 3 feet away from people, I want to have nice conversations with people. I don't want to be dealing with drama, so.
Yeah. And we're running out of time. Before we wrap up though, I have to ask you, because I already got the tables. I'm already going to be set up there. Tell me about your New Jersey show in May.
So I don't like to I don't want to overhype and get people all foaming at the mouth.
Listen, your name is attached to that show, and me and my collector/dealer friends immediately were messaging each other. Hey, are you setting up a Probstein show? Hey, what? If Probstein's doing it, it's going to be something. So I know I got a few tables already. Who knows what it's going to be?
We're going to have, and first of all, anybody who doesn't have a table is going to have a deep regret because they're going to be like, why didn't I set up here? This is going to first of all, it's right outside New York City.
Yeah.
It is in the probably other than maybe Aventura in terms of shopping, but all the stores that are in the Aventura Mall in Florida are basically in, American Dream. They have ski slopes, they have an ice skating rink, they have a roller coaster park, they have a water park, they have great restaurants, they have kosher food. It's fantastic, and the bathrooms are clean. It's a beautiful mall. They spent billions of dollars on it. And this is a guy, the family. I'm actually have a very close relationship with them, and I'm partnered with them on this event. We're doing this together. This is not just Rick Probstein. This is Rick Probstein and American Dream. We're doing this in cahoots together. And I went out and I hired a really, really top guy who's going to be a little incognito in terms of his name. And he's working 24/7 in terms of the relationships of bringing in the athlete names. And we're very close. The only reason why we haven't announced them sooner is that, and this was a little bit of a learning curve for us, all the guys that handle the athletes went to the Super Bowl for the full week. And then they need to travel back, and then they need to, so we have a whole bunch of contracts sitting out right now. And we're very close within the next 7 or 10 days of announcing 25, and we might go as many as 50 big names. We're talking like Allen Iverson type of names and up, like all those kind of names. We're not just talking about like, I don't want to begrudge anybody, but
So is
we're not talking
Iverson a name, or are you not, or are you saying that type name?
We are extremely hopeful, and I can't say it because we're finalizing it right now. But they basically, those kind of guys are coming. Like,
love it.
All of them, you're going to be like, yes, 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 yes. You're not going to be like, we're going after big names, and not just like 5 or 10. I'm talking like 25 to 50. So American Dream Mall has Century 21 went bankrupt, and they have a humongous space in American Dream Mall that's empty right now. So we're going to using that as the autograph pavilion, which is a humongous space. And we have a team of people that's going to put the whole thing together. And when you go to this convention, it's going to be an experience. You can come with your whole family. Your wife will be happy. Your kids will be happy. You will be happy. And you can do it for 2 or 3 days.
My wife will be happy. You don't know my wife, Rick.
Your wife, you're a good guy. I know that your wife will be happy. I can see you're a good guy. And by the way, we can give the marital advice that I had.
Yes, absolutely. So listen, I'll speak for the common man. Okay, people are excited, and I'm not blowing smoke. I don't blow smoke. People are excited about this Probstein show. Okay, that's all I know. 3 days, and it was genius the way that you just kind of put it on eBay, because doesn't that kind of like wash your hands of any of the BS of like having to deal with dealers wanting to set up and stuff?
Well, all of the first of all, eBay is my business partner, so I spoke to them before I decided that I want to get into show promotions, which is a logical extension of my business. And they're completely supportive. They did not tell me that I have to sell all the autographs, which I'm going to be selling through eBay. And all you're going to have to do is type in Autograph Fest into eBay, just keyword Autograph Fest, and you'll see the whole smorg of all the different guys, how much everything's going to cost, all the times, everything will be right there on eBay. And for me also, from a business standpoint, I don't have to go out and build a crazy site because I have something that's like kick butt and it's right there, and people are on it anyway.
Is that the reason you really haven't built your own website? Is that because eBay is your business?
We will at some point, but for now, I'm running the whole thing through eBay, and I have no interest or desire to do anything, outside of eBay. And we might not, the website that we come up with might not have anything where you can buy tickets or tables on the website. It might just be informative, and if you want to buy anything, it has to go through eBay. I'm an eBay guy. If you cut me, I bleed eBay. I love eBay. They've been very good to me in terms of, my family, my everything. And I am very appreciative of my relationship with them.
Well, I would hope that they're being good for you because there's a lot of money flowing back and forth. So,
We only did
one hand,
160 million last year.
whew,
I know it's
yeah.
starting to get into real numbers.
No, listen, they better treat you right, So that's just the way it is. You treat your top consigners right, I'm sure, and you're one of eBay's top consigners, so it's a beautiful thing. And I saw the list that had come out, and I think it was one of, I don't know even know if they're your competitor. I think I even named them a little while ago when I was talking to you, but I saw you were on the top 10 list for biggest consigners on eBay. I think was either last month or last year, the yearly list.
Consigners or sellers?
What was that?
Consigners or sellers?
Sellers, sorry, sellers.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And for you, to be on this list of just, it's a pretty amazing thing. I mean, you're making some pretty big lists, and you've seems like you've definitely made your mark for sure.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And
And
it's I tell everybody this, my position in the industry, it's a blessing, but it's also it's a curse, and that there's no, when I go away on vacation, and I'll leave this with you, my marital and dating advice for anybody in the industry. I'm not able to like fully disconnect from everything that's going on in the industry. I still get up 3 hours before, I recently took my family to Los Angeles, so I'm in touch with my wife. What time are we going horseback riding? We're leaving here at 10:30. So I'm up at 6 a.m. for 4 hours, getting everything handled with everybody. So on one hand, it just doesn't happen magically. That it's that kind of industry. I'm not just selling vacuums or razors where everything is the same. Every item is different. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of variables. There's an educational curve in terms of my staff where they're reaching out to me, where things that they might not be sure 100%, how to describe something. They might need my assistance. So, I'm in the office every day. I'm working constantly, and it's a blessing and a curse in that regard. But for me, it's not a curse because I enjoy it. So I'm playing with baseball cards all day. Sports cards. It's all good for me. So here's and this is, if you missed everything here, we're 52 minutes in. So I fail at this every day, but I strive to do better at it. Okay. So I don't want, in case my wife is listening, she's going to be like shaking her head.
yeah.
But I believe this to be true. And you're your license here. This is what you do professionally, and you can give me feedback immediately in terms of what I'm about to say. So
I'm off the clock, so no feedback.
Okay, fine. You can send me a bill. I'm sure anyway. So there's a belief, a statement, something in our society that you have to spend quality time with your kids. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
So that's wrong. Kids, if you spend just quality time with your kids, you're going to end up with problems with that relationship. Kids is not quality time. Kids is quantity time. Quantity time. Kids need large volumes of time, and obviously there's quality within there in terms of interacting with parents and being with parents. So you go to 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee, you bring little Jimmy, let him sit in the back seat and just talk to him the whole time. They just want to be with their parents. They want to be a part of what you're into. Like my 12-year-old son is really into cards right now. And why is that? Because I'm into cards. We spend time with it. We're doing it together, So kids need quantity time, not quality time. Now, your wife or your spouse or your significant other, okay, what do they need? Quantity time or quality time?
I would probably say quality.
Quality. So, and I'm going to preface this. I try and do this. I fail every day, but when I do it effectively, I have a much better relationship with my wife. And here's the advice: quality time. So my wife, bless her, she's an amazing woman. She knows not to call me in the middle of the workday now, right? She just doesn't. If she really needs something, she will contact me. She'll text me, she'll call me, and she's always very nice. She'll say, "Can you talk now, sweetie?" And I'll be like, "It's a freaking zoo here. I'll call you in a half an hour," or I'll be like, "I can talk now," right? So when you get home, right, my wife does not care that I sold the Tom Brady card for $2.3 million. She could care less. She doesn't care about money. You know, the only thing she cares about is my ability to focus on her and have a relationship with her and give her attention. So this is all you have to do, guys, if you're listening. The first 15 minutes that you come home, you do not talk about yourself in any regard because she doesn't care, right? You just listen and interact with her in terms of everything that's going on in her day, her world, everything that she's doing. And if you do that, then she'll let you go to your man cave, 2 hours later and watch the end of the ball game and get online and, be a beer drinking Neanderthal, who's involved in the sports card industry. But if you don't do those things and you don't make her the focal point and give her that quality time for 15 minutes, that's all they need. It's not a lot of time. 15 minutes is nothing, and you make her like your number one client for 15 minutes. And I'm saying I fail at this every day. I'm trying. I'm about to leave the office right now. I'm going to go home. I'm not opening up my laptop. I'm not talking about anything I did during the workplace. I'm just going to focus on my wife, right? Kids are different than we talked about that a little bit. And if you do that, then your collecting world will get much better because, you're not going to get nagged or disrupted, or she'll be appreciative of the other things that you're doing because she'll know that, your P1 is her. And that's what we should all, as sports card Neanderthals that we are, we should all try to have better relationships with our number ones.
I love it. I love it. Great advice, man. Rick Probstein Auctions, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was a pleasure. And if you are not too busy at the show in May, I'm definitely going to swing by and say hello.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, anytime. And anytime if you have more, it looks like you have a very big following. If they have other things that they are not getting answers for, and you want to address other than, show bidding or back scans, I'd be happy to come on with you again and address them.
All right. Sounds like a plan. We'll set it up. Rick, thank you very much for coming
Thanks
on.
for making the time for me. I appreciate it.